Off top, running backs mattered in 1994. Eric Dickerson retired. Emmitt Smith held out from the Cowboys. They went 0-2. He showed up. They went on to win the Super Bowl. A simpler time. Play the music.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.
All right, Charlie. I don't know why we needed to talk about running backs, but it's just important to remember that they were good. Steve Young won the MVP that year.
Steve Young. That's my early Caleb Williams comp, for the record.
But cross-racial, impressive.
Does Eric Dickerson have the best running back aesthetic ever in your eyes?
His aesthetic is great in the same way that the number 0 is great.
Yeah.
It's like no one's done it before.
And could pull it off since.
Yeah, and you could, because any of those things, if I told you, hey, you know what? We're going to give you a little collar, some rec specs, and a Jerry curl.
And 29.
And the number 29. You would say that person is going to look a mess in their uniform. But Eric Dickerson pulled it off.
Huge elbow pads, crop top with the cowboy collar, and he ran totally upright. The totally upright running made it look like he was just gliding at all times.
We had my Pop Warner team. We had a kid named Al who wore rec specs, and we called him Eric Dickerson as a joke. He wasn't very good. His dad was the coach too. Al.
I mean, it could be a lot worse than having being called Eric Dickerson as the joke.
Yeah, it was clearly mocking, but yeah, he didn't have the Jerry curl, fortunately. Poor Eric. Now he's bald.
Yeah.
I wonder if the Jerry curl has something to do with that. I don't know. Football's coming this weekend. What do you want to talk about?
We have to talk about the number one. So we're going to be joined by Wozni Lambre and a little bit later, and then Rose and Thorns. We'll talk about Damian Lillard trade and the Jets. But we have to talk about the best game of the weekend.
You're a better host of my show than I am. I should have done all that stuff. Good job. All right, go ahead.
Bills Dolphins, best game of the weekend. And I want to ask you, from beyond the betting perspective, football perspective, does it make sense to you that the Bills are favored at home against the Dolphins?
My immediate reaction is no, because I think about the gambling stuff, and it's like when someone wins by 50 or team wins by 50 points and is undefeated in a season, it's hard to imagine them ever being an underdog because everyone would be high on them. But then you look like the Bills they beat them the last 2 times they played them in the playoffs last year. The one time that the Dolphins beat them last year, actually the Dolphins had an extra teammate called the Sun, and Bills were passing out left and right because they had the Sun on their sideline. They were playing in Miami. So, like, I get why the Bills are projected or have a 2-point line in their favor, but it's still shocking, especially I think also looking at how good this Dolphins offense is. It's a lot based on what happened in this most recent game.
Right.
Because the previous couple games, they were good, and Tyreek Hill is balling. I don't know what his numbers are now, but they're absurd.
It's on pace for 2,300 yards.
That's it? Ooh, 2,300. That'll be the record, obviously. And, he is the best receiver in football and maybe is one of the best of all time. But if he gets 2,300, we have to start having the conversation, doing it in 2 separate places. If he can do it continuously, he's up there in Moss Rice territory.
I do want to get more into the game, but I mean, to the point on Tyreek Hill, I don't honestly care that the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. Is still a dumb trade to get rid of him. I truly believe that. Like, this dude is so special. What he does to the geometry of the field, what he lets McDaniel do. Like they don't have to block because they have Tyreek Hill. Like, they're playing Isaiah Wynn, and it doesn't even matter that the interior of their offensive line isn't great because they'll just move the pocket, and Tyreek Hill gets open so quickly and causes single coverage for everyone else.
Yeah, I get it, but the Chiefs needed to protect Patrick Mahomes. So, whatever. It worked out for both teams pretty much. And Mike McDaniel is now the boy genius, and part of the genius is get really fast dudes and throw it to them.
Throw it to them quickly.
Yes,
and let them be fast.
Yeah, I came to this interesting revelation on Mina's podcast, which doesn't seem as mind blowing now that I think about it. But what the Dolphins are doing, is getting rid of the ball quicker than anyone else, and attacking deeper down the field than anyone else. And the revelation I came to was like a traditional thought is you assume that creativity comes from like having all the options in the world, but true creativity comes from being under some constraints. And the reason why this offense is born is because Tua can't get hit. I don't know that they would be doing these CFL-esque motions if they weren't like, man, we got to get them down the field fast and we need to attack deep down the field, but do it in less time than it takes to attack the short areas. And so I thought of it as like an interesting discovery, but that's really how all great innovations in sports and elsewhere are created. Like the spread offense is a result of, you know what? It's hard to find quarterbacks that can throw. So let's spread everybody out. It's easier to find athletes. It's hard to find big, awesome offensive linemen. It's easier. And I think the West Coast offense is born out of Walsh's number one quarterback getting injured, and you have to throw quick passes. All of this stuff, all football innovations, the Wildcat, this is born out of the hope or the use of the assets you have and acknowledgement of the limitations that you have.
When you got Darren McFadden.
Yeah. And I guess, you know what, it just hit me that the zone running scheme that we all attribute to Mike Shanahan is actually Alex Gibbs. Well, I mean, zone running has been around in football since the beginning of time.
Smaller offensive lineman, zone block,
the perfection of it was Alex Gibbs, the offensive line coach for the Broncos during the Shanahan era. But they found market inefficiency. It's hard to find big, strong, great linemen. It's easy to find athletic, smaller guys. All right, you know what we'll do? We'll run a zone blocking scheme that uses their athleticism to their advantage. And hopefully, if we run the ball well, we don't ever get down enough that we have to do straight drop back. We do the zone blocking scheme and boot off of it and build a whole offense that is now, I mean, they've grown away from it, but that Alex Gibbs zone blocking scheme is the reason why.
The basis of all this.
It's a lot of teams don't do it anymore, but their success, or they still do it, but it's not the cornerstone of their offense. But their success, the birth of it, is born off of all of that stuff, which is kind of incredible.
And it's also all the tree. It's like this. It's an evolution of it, even if it's not so the classic Shanahan blocking scheme from the late '90s.
Yeah, because I feel like Kyle Shanahan, the only true Shanahan, runs the zone blocking scheme less than any of his other Shanahan-y disciples.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, I was in Denver during that run, and we had like 260-pound offensive linemen. Like 260 playing guard. Can you imagine that?
Block a space instead of that 300-pound person. Just make sure the right spaces are blocked that you want to have blocked. Makes a lot of sense.
And they would do the zone blocking scheme was a lot about speed and athleticism. And I think part of what Mike McDaniel does so well, and one of the best plays that I saw from this weekend, was this kind of reverse that they had
to
play. Achane.
Yeah.
And the reason why I thought that play was particularly special, I broke it down on Get Up for a little bit, is what they did it like screen blocking. So the offensive linemen chipped their defensive linemen and then let them go. So now what you're asking the defensive linemen to do is to be faster than Achane. And once they chipped him and let him go, they climbed to the secondary. And now what you're asking the secondary to do is to be stronger or evade the block of someone whose job it is to block. It's not a receiver. So they found a way to put their guys in positions that's also
that's dessert for linemen. Letting them onto the second level as their job. That's like, in this modern NFL, that's what you play for, to get to block little guys. It came after the fake reverse shovel pass, whether they blocked the same way, which was just like chef's kiss, that those plays were counter to each other.
And those are also like recognition of the limitations that you have. Like, we don't have an offensive line that we can drop back and protect. We don't have an offensive line that's just going to road grade people. Let's find ways through motion and shift and the fear of Tyreek Hill to create advantages for our offense.
And so in this game, Jalen Waddle has cleared concussion protocol. You have the emergence of Devon Achane. Tyreek Hill's 15th in MVP voting, which we will continue to discuss as we did last year, that if he has the season he had, he should maybe be the MVP. If not, but certainly at the top with Tua. Tua is number one in MVP odds. How do you see this matchup sort of playing out? Because the Bills are not a huge defense either.
Yeah, the Bills are
small men.
Yeah, their linebackers are pretty small.
They're small.
Yeah, their front is pretty small, so they might have the athleticism to keep up. This offense is different from last year's offense.
Yes.
It's better already. They're attacking in different ways. It's evolved from last year. So I want to say that the Bills are going to be fine, but they're not going up against the same offense. And we also pointed out that this offense hasn't been as dominant throughout this season as they were last year. It's hard to project because the best player on the field is probably going to be Josh Allen, and you don't really know what you're going to get for Josh Allen. So he might be a fourth quarter monster. Or I guess he was a monster pretty much all of the game against your
Last
beloved
2 weeks, he's been awesome.
Commanders. It's a tough projection because it feels like they're close teams. It's going to come down to who turns the ball over, which it seems like the Bills are probably more prone to turn the ball over because of the precision of the Dolphins offense.
You think Josh can attack the Dolphins cornerbacks, which are sort of weak without Jalen?
Yeah, I mean, people have been tough on Howard, Xavier Howard, who was a great corner but hasn't been this year or last year, frankly. I guess. I mean, Phillips is healthy and rushing the passer. Chubb's healthy and rushing the passer. All of this is really hard to project. The receivers aren't that good for Buffalo. I mean, they've been
trying to force Gabe Davis to be number 2 receiver because it just hasn't worked out that way.
Yeah, I really wish that I had a stronger feeling about this game, but this to me feels like a game that I need to see before I start projecting everything going forward. It'll be a real serious test because the Dolphins haven't been tested from a team that feels pretty complete yet, and the Bills, we know who they are in their history, but they're aging, and they haven't gone up against this version of the Dolphins, so I'm going to be a coward and back off and say, I don't know. I think, what do you think?
I mean, so these teams are 1 and 2 in DVOA right now. I actually just think the Dolphins are the best team in the NFL. And I think they have, like, them and the 49ers so far this season have looked leaps and bounds ahead of everyone. That's not going to say they're going to win the game, but if you're just basing it off of the information we have currently, I feel more comfortable picking the Dolphins. And I feel like the Bills over the last few years and Josh Allen. Yeah. Because early season. Because, maybe this will be different in December if it was in Buffalo. But right now, it's going to be nice weather. Tua's going to be slinging it. As long as he's healthy, this team looks unstoppable.
They played well against Buffalo in the snow last year.
Yeah.
I think people expected them to struggle, but they did just fine. I mean, they lost, but they played well against them.
If you had to spend a week watching tape and you were in the NFL and you were playing against this Miami Dolphins team, how terrifying would it be to play? Because now it's not just Tyreek. There are like 5 guys who are sub 4.35 guys.
If you are the coordinator, it's really stressful. We talk about this a bunch. It's like you want to load your assets in one area in order to take something away. But most of the time, you would like to put the pressure of your defense on the group that is strongest that can handle it. There is not a secondary that exists that would hold up against that group for an entire game. So then you want to put the pressure on the D-line. The problem with that is Tua's getting rid of the ball faster than anybody in football.
Never in the pocket.
Yeah. So like
one way or the other.
You're asking them you need to take away the first option to make him hold on to the ball. But those options are so hard. Like I really don't know. You said how it would feel. I'd be stressed out. Yeah. If I'm watching it as a player or as a corner, I'm looking for whatever tips that I can get to help to narrow down what options I'm going to have. Like that'd be my study because you can't. It's really hard against any receiver and quarterback combination to cover everything. Like you kind of have to narrow down by formation, down the distance, field position. It's like, all right, this is probably what I'm going to see. I'm going to be aggressive here. But with them, it's like,
So that leads to the final question on this team, which is, do you think anyone figures them out this year, or is it just, or are their stinkers just going to be based on health?
The thing about it is, you can't figure them out, and I don't just mean it because it's them. I think they have so many great players, and I think their strategy is, we talked about a few keys to their strategy, but the other thing that I noticed about them, if you want to look at like simplifying their strategy down to like the most obvious dumb way to talk about it, it seems to me that what Mike McDaniel wants to do is get the ball to his guys in one-on-one situations as much as possible. And reason why that works is you tackle them 2 or 3 times, but the one time you miss it, we have 4-3, 4-2 guys. We're going to the crib. So if it works, if you bring them down and they force you to punt one time, cool. We're going to do it again. You do it again, cool. What you're probably not going to do is tackle Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle or Mostert or Achane in the open field one-on-one every single time. And once you miss that, no one has an angle and it's over. So, like, I don't think it's something that you can figure out. Like, you need to be able to make those plays. You need to create turnovers. You need them to make mistakes. Like, that's with the way the rules are in the modern football, that's kind of when you come up against one of these ridiculous offenses, that's kind of what you have to do.
It's crazy. I feel like this is the first offense since the 2018 Chiefs where we're thinking like it's going to be on their own mistakes for them to not dominate a football game.
It doesn't feel like there's an answer, but we might just be being a bit hyperbolic early in the season because, like we mentioned, it was only one game that they were completely unstoppable.
Last year through week 5, we were comparing the Bills to the Gray Show and Turf Rams.
Yeah, that was fun. We do that. I like to overreact. It's my favorite thing about football.
The best.
All right, let's talk to Waz. All right, very excited to welcome in my brother in collective action.
That's right.
Wozni, the labor man, Lambre. What's up, brother?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Shouts to all the union members of the WGA, which I happen to be a member of.
Me too. Ra-ta-ta-ta.
The WGA, they stuck it to the bosses by withholding their labor, and they got what they needed out of that deal. So shouts to them.
Yeah, we didn't have you on for union talk, but when I know that our relationship was born out of discussing union talk, and I know that you feel as strongly about collective action as I do, so I had to say that to get us started. But what we're really here talking about is one laborer who didn't get exactly what he wanted, or at least what we thought he wanted, a guy by the name of Damian Lillard. Charlie, what you got for me?
He did get what he wanted, but he ended up in a better situation.
That's debatable, but go ahead.
Which is a long dead show that no one respects or likes. It's not nearly as good as the Domonique Foxworth Show, but where you want to start with this thing, Charlie, or you just want to let Wozni figure it out for us?
Waz, what's the most interesting part of the Damian Lillard trade?
Yeah, I like it. Make the guests do the work.
I think the most interesting part to me is how Dame's plight informs Giannis's tack that he took with management. And so because of the jerking around that happened with Dame Lillard, Giannis had the knowledge and foresight to realize, like, no, I'm not playing ball with you. You have to do what's right. You have to prove to me that you're going to do what's right. And it's how Dame ends up in Milwaukee. His own situation so clearly informing what Giannis did to that Bucks management group.
Most people who yell about nice guys finishing last are just lame-os who making excuses. But this kind of feels like the example where it's like, hey, you try to play. I mean, and maybe it's a reach to tie this to our collective action conversation, but the idea that Damian Lillard tried to play ball all this time and never ended up in a great situation. I know you're looking at me where it's like he's in a great situation now, but of all the players in the history of the league, recent history of the league, who've pushed their way out, Damian Lillard's the first one that didn't get exactly what he wanted almost as soon as he wanted it. I mean, that, I know he's in a good situation now, but like that to me suggests, while a lot of people are saying this suggests that we're turning away from this player empowerment era, no, it's telling me players, you better pull the trigger as soon as you feel it.
Yes.
To me, it's not just that. Like, it's different than Anthony Davis 5 years ago or even Kevin Durant last year because Damian Lillard, the end of his contract is a bad contract. So it's like he couldn't bully his way necessarily to exactly the way he wanted because he chose.
He didn't have the value is what you're saying.
Yeah, and he chose to take that contract initially, and that was going to stunt any return he was going to get from the Miami Heat or from other organizations. He wasn't going to get the 5 first-round picks and all of the young talent, et cetera, that Anthony Davis was going to get or the Kevin Durant deal last year because people, quite frankly, don't value him the same way, just no matter how good he is.
I want to hear what Wozni has to say. I don't know that I agree with you, but I want to hear Wozni's response.
There's a lot of differences, Charlie, in the Durant situation, in the Harden situation, even the Anthony Davis situation. One, Damian Lillard was promised that the team was trying to win. That's the difference. He's asking out of a rebuild.
Yeah.
After giving 10 plus years of everything that he had to win, he's asking out of a rebuild. That's a 1. 2, when he re-signed that deal, Charlie, this is what everybody fails to remember. Damian Lillard could have came to them and said, yo, I got 1 year until an opt-out, meaning you guys have 6 months to trade me, and I can leverage you guys into a deal right now before the extension, and anybody who trades for me is going to extend me. Nobody's going to trade for Dame Lillard while he has only a year left and an opt-out left and not extend him. He was always going to get the extension. So framing this as, well, Dame, you sat there and took the money as if this is something they gave him. This is what he was going to get. He didn't leverage them into a deal earlier because he trusted management to try to win.
Get that company man. Get his company.
Hold on, Charlie. Go back and look at the public comments that Cronin said.
Yeah.
Everything that he said.
No one was running from the grind there.
Everything that Cronin said from the time we're trying to win with Dame.
Yeah.
We're building around Dame. We're building a contender around Dame. What do you think he told Dame Lillard behind closed doors? Yo, Dame Lillard, sit. Go look at some of those injury things that Dame sat out for at the end of seasons. That was to get a better pick to do what? Bring in better players. What did they do at every single turn? After promising Dame Lillard, if he signed the extension that they would do, they did the opposite. And then he asked out. That's what's different between him and James Harden, him and Kevin Durant, him and Anthony Davis, him and whoever else you want to bring up. He asked out of a rebuild. Then they drafted his replacement, the Jesus figure Scoot Henderson. And he's like, okay, like, fine, you guys are doing something different. Get me out of here. Do the right thing.
Fried vanilla snack in this building right now.
First of all,
that snack.
I would never compare anyone to, degrading the product as much as Durant and Harden have done that with the trade stuff. That's in a tier of its own. But the second part about this is when you hear Miami fans crying foul about this and being like, this is BS, basically. We should have gotten Dame Lillard because he wanted to come here. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't really lend any credence to that. I think Portland took a deal, and here's another thing. Another framing of the deal that's annoying me is this decoupling of DeAndre Ayton from a Miami deal. That Ayton deal was going to happen no matter what. They were extremely hot under the pants for DeAndre Ayton. That was always going to be a part of any Dame deal, right? I think where I do have, if Portland decided they wanted to take a deal that some people could say is comparable, I would say that Jrue Holiday and 1 pick is not measurably better than Tyler Hero in 5 or 6 picks.
Yeah.
I don't think you can make the argument that is Jrue Holiday and 1 pick. We do this thing in the media where we parrot the narrative of management and their selling of
Not
how
here,
great
we
this
don't.
deal is because of these 2 pick swaps, which is this idea that the GM it's a little hubristic and it's self-flattery to think that Portland is going to be a better run organization in 7 years than Milwaukee is. Therefore, those pick swaps will have value. I'm dubious of that claim, but the reality is they got 1 pick outright. And
So
Jrue
far.
Holiday
So far.
for Dame Lillard. Yes,
Yeah, you
we'll
think they're
see
gonna
what
get
they
more
get for
for
Jrue
Holiday.
Yeah.
Holiday.
So if I push back,
but that's the deal, though,
Yeah.
Charlie.
Well, I'm just
it's
saying,
1 pick and Jrue Holiday.
they're not going to keep Jrue Holiday, and unlike Tyler Hero, a contending team will want Jrue Holiday because he helps you play winning basketball. So they trade Jrue Holiday to the Clippers, they get 2 unprotected picks.
Did he do that in the first round last year?
Yeah, Jrue Holiday
good point.
is on his way. He's not on the upside. You could argue that Tyler Hero still could get better.
But
and I guess the thing that hurt Tyler Hero is their best runs were, well, the exception of that bubble year, their best recent runs were without Tyler Hero.
I mean, I don't know. Jrue Holiday was the second best player on the team that won the title 3 years ago, and is still an elite defensive guard, and played well against Boston 2 years ago in the postseason.
I feel like you're probably right. It's hard to argue
I don't
difference.
want to denigrate Drew Holiday.
Yeah.
I think
Right.
Miami Heat fans crying is whatever. If Joe Cronin wants to take a worse deal, it's his God-given right to.
Yeah.
The only people that should be mad
I don't
at
think
him
it's a worse
are
deal.
his bosses and his fans.
I don't think it's a worse deal. I think it's close enough that it doesn't matter. I think what I want to emphasize is that what I feel like happened and what Wozniak was outlining was if there was ever anything owed to anyone in this situation, it would be Damian Lillard.
Yes.
Because they didn't want to keep him either. So they didn't want Damian Lillard there once they drafted a replacement at his position. So if you're telling him we're going to do everything we can to win, I'm assuming they're saying, well, we'll take the end of this season so we can get a high enough draft pick that is valuable enough that we could bring something in here so you can win. Then they get a high enough draft pick that they can get someone that they can build around. I don't blame them for wanting to sign that person. But at that point, I kind of feel like you send the man where he want to go. The man who's given all
Not
of this
for Tyler Hero. I'm sorry. I just totally disagree on this stuff. Like the package was like, and this is like I guess just like a different viewpoint on the asset. Like
I think it's the idea of assets at all. I think when there's a player like that, it's about relationships and it's about again, I don't know the understanding that they had, but I feel like at that point, after he has done all the things that you've wanted to do, and then you like fall backwards into a good situation.
Do you think they did him wrong? Because
I'm not saying that they did him wrong.
Yeah, but if it's about managing a relationship, he said he wants to win. They put him with Giannis. Outside of Jokic, that's the prize.
Yeah,
playing with
so
Giannis.
that's the point I'm making. Go ahead.
Why do you think Dame Lillard wanted to go to Miami, Charlie?
To try and win with Jimmy Butler?
I would assume that there's more to it than just the basketball components.
But that runs counter to what
Miami.
he says publicly.
What do you mean?
His comments on the trade was he wants to be in a situation to try and win.
For sure. But if he's going to pick Miami, it's not just going to be blanket, I just want to win. Or else why wouldn't he say, send me to Phoenix?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he say, send me to that? Like this.
Deal.
I'm just saying there's more to it. There's more teams that he can win on than just Miami. There were probably personal or whatever affinities towards Miami, which is why it was his preference. It wasn't just the winning component. And if you have a relationship with somebody and you make your sort of demands known, and some of those demands are personal to whatever your desires may be in life, then you would expect that the organization that you've given everything to and that has decided that your values as a hooper of winning, of putting the best team possible on the floor, are no longer being honored.
And I also don't think that it's hard to argue that Milwaukee is a better situation given what the Heat have done recently. Like on paper, I get it. Giannis is the pushback, and that's a real strong pushback. But also, what?
I totally disagree.
Really?
Yeah.
So the Heat,
you think the Milwaukee Bucks are a better run organization than the Miami?
Oh no, I
Heat?
thought you said better
you trust
situation.
Their management structure better than the Miami Heat, Charlie?
I think that you feel like you could make a reasonable argument that he feels like his best chance to win is in a place where they can optimize everyone, including him, and not a place where the team got knocked out in the first round by that team the previous year. I get it. I think Giannis is great too.
Giannis
and
was hurt in that series.
I would rather play with Giannis also, but I'm just making the point that I think that Damian Lillard could make a feasible argument that Miami was his best chance to win.
See, the reason I don't view it that way is because like the Miami Heat were an 8 seed that shot an insane amount of threes and insanely hot from 3 and ran hot for a few rounds doing that, and that's like an unbalanced and unsustainable way to win. And it's just like it's not who they were.
The Milwaukee Bucks are a 1 seed who lost to an 8 seed.
Yeah, their best player got hurt, and this is the history of basketball.
What are we doing?
If the Heat with LeBron, if LeBron got hurt, they're losing in the first round with those teams also.
They gave up double-digit leads in the fourth quarter 2 times to lose the last 2 games of those series with their best player. What are we doing here? Yeah. This idea that Milwaukee is somehow a better organization than the Miami Heat is nuts.
A better winning situation. Not a better. I would never say they're a better run organization.
Over how long a period, Charlie? Is that the truth? Would that be the case?
Until Giannis athletically declines, which will be the remainder of Damian Lillard's time as a winning basketball player.
That's fair, but maybe this year specifically, you may or may not be right. I think that's actually a debatable point. Yeah, but over the life of Dame Lillard being a relevant player, you can make the argument that the Bucks are going to be better stewards of that lifetime than the Miami Heat. I would say false.
So, and to 2 years ago, you're hanging the fact that the Bucks were the number 1 seed. 2 years ago, the Heat were the number 1 seed. And then last year, they go to the conference finals. So, like, it might be the football in me that loves an organization over the superstar in you that loves a basketball player. But I get that the Giannis, anytime you put Giannis anywhere, it's a winnable situation. However, I know that I trust the consistent, overachieving success of the Miami situation. So, like, I'm hoping that this was something that Dame approved. I don't know. Has he spoken on that yet, or do you have any information? Wasn't he
photoshopped himself as a Bucks in a Bucks uniform?
Okay, well, that'll do it.
Yeah, I think Dame. I think it's out there. Like Shams and all of them have put it out there. Like Dame is on board with all of this. And to be clear, I don't think there's anybody worth spilling tears for in any of this. I just resent the framing in the media that is very damn lazy. Stop comparing this to every single superstar trade request that has come before it. Dame Lillard is not Bradley Beal. Dame Lillard is not Ben Simmons. Dame Lillard is not the people that came before him that cried their way out of town. These things are not the same. And I wish we would cover it with some level of nuance instead of saying superstars shouldn't get what they want. It's like, bruh, this is a special case.
And they should get what they want. Everybody should get what they want.
How good do you think the Bucks are going to be this year?
I think they're obviously the favorite in the East. And I would say that it's probably a toss-up between them and the Nuggets in the finals. I would probably pick the Nuggets because of continuity, championship pedigree, not having a history of soiling themselves in the playoffs like every single other person on the Bucks roster has. So, yes, I would give the edge to the Denver Nuggets in the playoffs, a group that went together, embarrassed the Clippers, basically damn near, ran everybody that was part of that as far as Doc Rivers out of town, stormed through the playoffs this last year, just dominating every single team that they played. So I would give them the slight edge in the finals, but unquestionably, you have to like them against Boston and certainly the likes of Philadelphia and even the Miami Heat.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. We had this conversation before with the producers, and there were some people making an argument for putting the Bucks number 1. It's not a stupid thing to say. It's reasonable, but right now, what we just saw, it feels outrageous to what we just saw last year. It feels outrageous to jump up. But I think the reason why it sounds reasonable is because there's rarely pieces that fit together this perfectly. Like the pick your poison. As long as you got shooters around those two, and you got a center who is an excellent three-point shooter and an excellent rim protector in Lopez, and you got that pick and roll at the top in late game situations, I can't imagine what is scarier to face: Lillard wide open from deep or Giannis rolling to the basket.
Yeah, I mean, the pieces are complementary. Dame Lillard is not somebody. First of all, Let's understand who we're talking about in Dame Lillard. He had a 120 offensive rating when he was on the court last year with the situation that was in Portland. Dame Lillard is not somebody you can switch pick and rolls against. He will fish fillet your big man if you switch the big onto him. Dame Lillard can blow by pretty much anybody in the NBA. He's elite pull-up three-point shooter. Dame Lillard is an elite offense unto himself in the half court. When the Bucks have struggled in the past, even when they won the championship, was in half court offense. And that's just not going to be the case anymore.
We don't have to.
You try to put two on the ball on a Giannis and Dame pick and roll, and you're going 4-on-3 with Giannis barreling to the rim, and your big man was out there chasing. Like, this is just going to be nasty for teams to deal with in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, we don't have to watch Giannis handle the ball in late game situations
no,
anymore.
Giannis
or Chris
creating
Middleton
from
running the pick and
28
roll.
feet. Yeah, or even if he could do that as a secondary action with Dame, creating gravity for himself off the ball. Like, they're going to be very good offensively. People forget, but Terry Stotts is now the assistant coach. He was Dame's head coach for a number of years. They were consistently top 10, top 5 offenses in Portland when Dame and Terry Stotts were together. They're going to be very good, guys.
Well, can we go from a smiling Waz and a good situation?
Oh, yeah.
to unhappy was he's in beautiful LA right now, but his heart is New York and it is green.
I love this. You guys are going to disagree on this topic, which is great.
A Jets fan. I mean, there's nothing to disagree about. The situation sucks. How are you going to frame this so that we can disagree?
Well, here's the situation. Well, obviously the Jets are playing the Chiefs on Sunday night. Taylor Swift is going because it's another homecoming game for the Chiefs. Like
homecoming. That's how your high school is scheduled. Bum for homecoming.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah. And so the defense is having a mutiny because Robert Saleh continues to support Zach Wilson as the quarterback of the Jets. They don't want that to happen. Domonique, noted player apologist, was walking around being like, I feel bad for Zach Wilson.
I do.
But how do you feel, Wozni, fan of the New York Jets, about everything that's going on right now? Zach Wilson, everything in the entire situation.
You try to make it seem like Wozni can only have one feeling. Like,
No, look. To have to go into your workplace every day knowing that half of the people there resent you, that's tough. Yeah. I can obviously feel sympathy for that guy, but at the same time, I can be of two minds here. The defense is completely justified in how they feel about the guy. He stunk up the joint, and if any single person on the defensive unit played to the level at their position that Zach Wilson is playing at his, they would not be playing. So it's justifiable that they would feel resentment towards this guy who football, the ultimate accountability sport. If you don't play a certain way, you might die out there. And this is the gladiator and blah, blah, blah. Yet Zach Wilson isn't held to that standard. It's problematic. I get it.
Yeah, and so you tried to break up the union, bros.
That's exactly right.
And we still agree.
Divide and conquer.
We still agree. I think that everyone in here is justified to feel the way that they feel.
I need an ally. Yeah, give me a break here.
They're justified in the way that they feel. I think that someone on that team needs to step up and be the leader in Aaron Rodgers' absence, and they need to go, if this is how they feel, they need to go knock on Robert's door and say, excuse me, coach, we ain't doing this. Go put Boyle in. I don't care if Simeon's got on practice squad. Suit him up. Let me play quarterback, coach, if that's how you feel. So I'm saying that their feelings are justified, and everything that I've heard about Zach personally is the way that he behaves makes him someone who's hard to like. That doesn't mean that I can't feel sorry for this man because he started
I feel sorry for him.
He started this season.
I want to be clear. I feel sorry for him.
He started this season like his image was getting turned around. We liked him. Aaron Rodgers was going to fix him. This man thought he was going to be the backup quarterback holding the clipboard all the way to the Super Bowl while Aaron Rodgers taught him how to be good. And then 4 plays in, they said, you know what, man? Remember last year? Do that again. That sucks.
So I want to speak to that point you just made, Domonique, because I was talking to a friend of mine about this very point, and he was like, that was a horrible sign. The idea that he was happy to not be playing, it kind of tells you everything you need to know about this guy and that he's kind of a loser. Like that it was not burning his soul that they brought somebody in to replace him and he's smiling and kikiing in quarterback room meetings. That was a terrible sign. But yet it's obvious he's the worst starting quarterback in the National Football League right now. It's not even a question. So the idea that you wouldn't try something different.
Can I respond to the not burning his soul thing? All right, that's a bad sign if it's true. But who among us has not gone into work and smiled at their boss that they hated? Aaron Rodgers was his boss. Whether you like it or not, Aaron Rodgers was his boss. When Aaron Rodgers, when the owner of the team, not Woody Johnson, Aaron Rodgers, walk up in there and make fun of your bandana, you know what you do? You chuckle. You make a little joke back and you say, we chummy. So he did say before they brought in Aaron Rodgers that he was going to make it hell for anybody they brought in there for him, which may have just been some performance. But I just my perception, and partially maybe his projection in that situation, what happened to him last year? What he brought on himself last year, we cannot appreciate how difficult it is. So assuming that anyone can go through that and not implode on themselves, he had his teammates wearing shirts that said Mike Bleepin White, the backup quarterback. And he was in New York City.
It's amazing.
That is and then He came back.
Would you have worn one of the shirts if you're on the team?
Hell no.
You
Maybe.
wouldn't have. You wouldn't have. If you had been a defensive back on that team with how good that defense is.
No, I'm not.
No, I mean, I guess, see, that's why.
I'm not sucking up to a backup.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And
come on.
Like the straight disrespect to your teammate. That's why.
A Trevor Siemian shirt?
That's why
Sunday night.
I looked at, like, I talked to people about how they actually felt about him.
Yeah.
Like, personally. Because I've never been on a team where normally the people, if there was somebody who was hated a bunch, that dude also cabal. So we found a way to like him.
Right.
You know, I had never been on a team where the bum was also a you know, like I'd never been on it because you can't afford to be in that situation. So normally when things go wrong, and I've been the player that's had a bad game, made mistakes that cost his team to win. And you know what most people do? They pat you on the back, they smile in your face, maybe they got a side chat, but they don't go on national TV with a shirt saying, my dude sucks. Like, that's terrible, man. That's terrible.
Yeah, and I think that's an indictment of the leadership, to be honest.
It's so immature.
It's very toxic for, you know, if you're trying to build camaraderie and chemistry, like that's so clearly toxic to the implementation of those ideals that, like, any leadership figures on the team, whether it be the coaching staff or people who would call themselves captains, to me, that's an indictment of them. Like, you can't allow this level of disunity if you really think you're still trying to salvage this season. But at the same time, again, Zach Wilson has not covered himself in glory, right? The stuff that he was saying in press conferences after stinking up the joint last year, like that stuff put people off. And, you know, I think another part of it, I think if he was the type of quarterback who was like, Josh Allen, or even, dare I say, a Tim Tebow, who's like willing to get his head knocked off and, you know, get up and like he was like this tough sort of quarterback, or like a Cam Newton type who was always putting it all on the line. You know, remember when John Elway did the helicopter in the Super Bowl? I'm sure the linebackers was like, yo, that's one tough white boy. Yeah. Zach Wilson is not that.
Yeah.
So he has nothing going for him.
BYU, like, it just, there's nothing that feels in that. Yeah, it's a bad situation for him. And then they got to play the Chiefs. There are a lot of Jets fans around me. I know a lot of people from New York, and I always wonder, like, what is the proud moments? What do you look back on? Because every fan has those times. Like, was there a big play, a playoff win, clinching the playoffs? What do you look back on where you were jumping around and celebrating the Jets?
Definitely Keyshawn Johnson dropping "Just Give Me the Damn Ball" and calling Wayne Kravitz the Jets mascot. That was an incredible Jet moment. Another proud Jet moment is that I'm pretty sure we single-handedly made the league institute instant replay. That season, we went 12-4 with Vinny Testaverde. He scored on a quarterback sneak where he clearly didn't have the ball in the end zone. It was just his helmet went over and the refs called it a touchdown. Seattle was so intense. I'm pretty sure that is the reason we have instant replay. Obviously, Can't Wait with Bart Scott was a big moment for us. Finding out our coach was a foot fetishist was up there for me. Freaky Deaky Rex Ryan is up there for me. But again, I gotta explain to people, man, like, this Zach Wilson stuff is nothing. I come from the era of Glenn Foley. I come from the era of Ray Lucas. I come from the era of Neil O'Donnell as a big free agent signing fresh off the Super Bowl and coming in and stinking it up. I come from the era of Boomer Esiason credibly calling himself a top 5 Jet quarterback of all time. Like, y'all got to understand, man, what we've been through as a franchise, just inept offense after inept offense. But yeah, the best years of my Jet life is when I became a fan. It was, Bill Parcells, Vinny Testaverde, Victor Green, Aaron Glenn, Mo Lewis, those guys. Those were my proudest Jet moments. Shouts to Keyshawn. He's literally the reason I became a Jet fan.
Mo Lewis
Keyshawn
launched
Johnson.
the dynasty.
Oh,
yes, he certainly did. Yeah.
Man, I feel like we need to find some happy note to end on. I don't want to end on. Well, that was a happy note.
That was great. I mean, I'm a Commanders fan. I'm from DC. I feel you. We've been through it together.
It's been a lot. My dad, bandwagon fan that he is, he moved to New York in the 70s, and I guess like when he finally started watching football was in the 80s, and the Redskins were unstoppable, and he became a Redskins fan. I don't think he's a Redskins fan anymore.
Yeah, he should have jumped on the Giants or something.
Time to jump on a new bandwagon.
Tell him to come on over to the Chiefs.
I think he gets all his pride from Real Madrid these days. Yeah.
They're good and rich. All right, I'm stalling because I don't want to end this because it's so much fun talking to Wozni, but I know we got other things to do today. I appreciate you, brother. I can't wait to the basketball season. We can have you on more often. Frankly, we could have you on football season. That was really fun. All right, brother.
Yeah, let's do this more often. And again, we started off the show by shouting out the UAW, but of course we got to shout out the teams. Well, we didn't shout out the UAW, but shout them out. They about to kick the of the big three. We got to shout out the Teamsters for getting that amazing contract with UPS, and of course we got to shout out the Writers Guild, man, the WGA, man. So yeah, man, labor union talk all day, Dominique. You already know the vibes.
SAG need to lock this up.
Lock it in.
Get these shows back going. All right, we out. Next up, Roses and Thorns. Appreciate you, brother.
How has Dominique been lately?
Bad or good?
Let's find out. This is Roses and Thorns.
All right, welcome to Roses and Thorns, your favorite segment with my favorite person. Hey, buddy, what's that face for? What's so
because
funny?
he just finished being annoyed with me.
You got them things out today. What you?
Shut up. You know, it's as I just finished discussing. I really want liposuction, but I would never get it. It's because my clothes are too small. I didn't look like this 2 years ago.
Oh, really? Oh, I thought.
Well, I think the top it fits like that, but the bottom is.
That shirt is not 2 years old.
It is. It's like 4 years old, actually. It's pre-COVID.
I don't believe it.
I'm
All
digging in the crates because nothing fits me. Working on it. There's always Ozempic
stuff. You wouldn't do Ozempic.
I'm not buying new stuff.
I
just
see
buy it
all the time.
I just buy it, and then it's a size that I think is my like fat size, and it comes and it still doesn't fit me, so I send it back. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. I think they're making clothes a little smaller than they used to.
Save us, Serafina. Let's go somewhere else other than clothes not fitting. That's not fun talk.
Okay, some important things to get to, lots to talk about, but none more important than Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. So there have been speculation for weeks about their relationship, and it seems like they made it official with Taylor going to the Chiefs game, sat next to Mama Kelce, and left with Travis after the game. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we need to get to. Ashley and I had a conversation over the weekend that I think annoyed her around this. Is I said that, damn, Patrick Mahomes is such a good quarterback that he got his tight end with a pop star. And then I'm thinking, and I said, damn, there has to be some part of Patrick Mahomes that's thinking like, man, what I could have done. Like,
there's not. And all it made me think when I heard it was, damn, Travis Kelce disproves once you go black, you never go back, because he went a total different direction.
I don't believe that relationship is real, but that's another conversation.
Maybe it's just that I'm naive or gullible, but it's like maybe they're not going to get married, but I believe that at least now they're two younger than us people having fun, with limited dating pools probably, even though they have everyone in the world that might be interested in them.
It's weird.
It's also limited because it's like, well, who's someone else who kind of somewhat understands my lifestyle? I could imagine. I don't know. Like, I've never experienced anything like this.
Either way, I mean, it's a premise of a great rom-com if they were put together and they end up falling in love. But I guess I don't know Taylor Swift.
But why would they have been put? So here's the thing.
I see Taylor Swift as a business, and this seems like
She's
a coincidence.
A sweet girl.
She probably is, but it seems like a coincidence that.
But she looks so sweet.
It's all timed up so well that she could dominate football. Like, there's very few things that are as big or close to the size of Taylor Swift.
No, I'm saying there's as big as football. Okay,
I'm saying Taylor Swift. Like, there are few relationships, a few partnerships that would benefit her. And thinking that she's partnering with Travis Kelce, I understand why people say it's ridiculous. She just broke the internet
with her tour, and she doesn't need Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce's jerseys now are selling 4 times as much as they were selling before. The Chiefs games, the home games, are selling out even more, which honestly I would have assumed they were already sold out. But I saw something that was maybe it's like the aftermarket tickets, or maybe they weren't sold out. But their sales has spiked because of her.
My argument
it's rumored that she's going to the Jets game this weekend.
We get it. She's important. My argument is not that she needs it. Like, I'm not crazy to say she needs it. And billionaires don't need another billion. My argument is that a lot of you guys believe that she's like a sweet girl, which she probably is. But she is also also
Who wears bright red lipstick,
She is also a monster who wants to destroy the world and make
No,
all the
she's
money.
not. I don't think you should say that she's a monster or a business.
I don't think that's the thing. Is a monster is not an insult for her. Like, she is definitely a conqueror. I don't know. She seems like she wants to destroy.
She's just talented
everything.
and wants to share her music with the world.
Okay. Serafina, tell Ashley that I'm right and tell us what's next.
I love the conversation. You both are right.
Thank you, Serafina.
Sticking to the middle area.
That was diplomatic of you. Also, I really love these flowers by this Terps jersey.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. We're trying over here.
You're talented.
We got cards and everything blowing up.
So fancy. We got questions on them.
We're doing it.
Yeah, we do have
And
questions.
because you guys are relationship goals, we wanted to give people a chance to pick your brains. So we asked for questions for you guys. And so you have them in your hand. Feel free.
All right, I'll go first. I'm always amazed about how real Ashley...
But ladies first was a thing, but okay, he'll go first.
You are going first. I'm giving you the question to answer first. Goodness gracious. I'm always amazed about how real Ashley keeps it. It actually makes me it's actually what makes me such a big fan of hers. Do your friends or family members side-eye what you share?
If anyone side-eyes anything I share in life, it's Domonique. My friends and family members, like, they probably aren't watching. I hope they're not. But Domonique does. He told me recently that he was like, what's the thing? Or we were talking about, like, what are we most surprised by, like, from when we first met to, like, now, like, who we've become. And his thing was, well, whatever his thing was didn't matter. It wasn't a big thing. But he was like, I thought I was just marrying this chatty girl. Like, or not marrying, but dating. Like, he thought that was, like, the biggest, like, flaw with me. I don't know. I'm not embarrassed by much. Like, certainly when I was, like, younger, there were certain things that I would be, like, ashamed of or want to hide, like scarlet lettery type things. And now I will, like, tell those to a stranger next to me at a bar. And I honestly think part of that came from, like, I was really fat as a kid. And I think that builds so much character. I'm so sad that I have these little athletically bodied children because I'm like, nah, you got to be fat so you can get teased, so you can realize that you're great as you are and you can share yourself wholly and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, no, I mean,
so yes,
I think...
he's the one, back to the question, he's the one. He's the friend and family member that gets annoyed
and
by me.
it's not a big thing, but I think honestly more than the being fat as a child thing, I think it's that you have a level of confidence that I think a lot of people
that
fake.
came from being fat as a child.
Okay,
my
whatever.
grandma used to tell me all the time, and actually I taught Sunday school this week, and it wasn't great. But there was one little boy who came in, and he said, it was only like a handful of kids. It was an off day of Sunday
Maybe you shouldn't
school.
share his business.
I'm not going to say his name or anything.
Okay.
But he came and he was like, my name is such and such, and I go to this school, and we were introducing ourselves. It was the first day, and he said, and I have extra weight on me, like, and I'm chunky, and not just chunky, I'm fat, and like kept grabbing his belly, and it made me feel so sad. And like, and like it was, and he was in Declan's age. Declan was in my Sunday school class, guys. But so where they do Sunday school is at the school that I went to when I was a kid, and so I was like picturing myself sitting there, and I just felt, and I'm not crying because I'm not crying, but my voice isn't cracking, but I felt so bad for this little kid, right? Like that you feel that way about yourself. And I'm happy that I don't anymore. But I was like, no, I think you look great. And then I said, he was like, no, it's okay. I just need to lift some weights. And I was like, no, you don't. Like, da-da-da-da. But then one of the other boys was like, actually, it's important for all of us to lift weights. So yes, he needs to lift weights. I was like, screw you, jerk.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think anytime you, especially in kids, like, you recognize the insecurities that they have. Like, it's tough. I mean, it's going
Oh my
through
God,
life
made me
in that
so
way.
sad.
All right, your turn.
Oh, I get to read one now. Okay. Oh my God, this one's funny because it almost happened last night. When is it okay to watch our show by yourself?
I don't know. When you get permission?
Maybe. So we love Only Murders in the Building.
Season 3 hasn't been as great as that previous season.
I'm like so loyal. I'm such a loyal show watcher. To me, it's been excellent. Okay. So I always wait for him till Wednesday. And then yesterday he comes home, and I like respect the fact that like we each kind of handle what we handle in our relationship. And so like he works and like I do other things. But so he came home, he'd been away for 2 nights, and I just been waiting at least for 24 hours to watch Only Murders. And Avery also like cannot keep a secret. Just like, I watched it. I'm like,
She wants to
shut
tell
up,
you.
don't tell me. And so he went downstairs because he had to work. And I was like, what? I almost like watched it without him. But then I was like, no, like he's working. Like I can watch House Hunter reruns. That's my other favorite thing to watch.
Oh, you have permission. Knock yourself out.
I know, but I wouldn't want to. Like that's the thing. And then I was going to. I was like, no, I love watching with him. When I miss the jokes, he fills me in. When I get the jokes, I pretend that I'm filling him in, even though he also got them. I love watching him.
Yeah, no, I think that's the best part of it at this point because
Yeah,
season 3
it's
isn't
like date
great
night.
to me.
It's good.
It's like date
Martin
night.
Short and Steve Martin and Selena Gomez. Can't go wrong.
Martin, Selena. All right, here we go.
And Jesse Williams is in that, even though he left Grey's Anatomy, so I don't know how we feel about him.
We feel great about him. Anybody, a Grey's alum, we love Grey's alum.
I just wish he had stayed.
All right, here we go. How long should silent treatment last? This is a funny question because, like,
he wishes forever.
I think if anybody gives the other person silent treatment, like, I know it's traditionally seen as like a feminine thing to do to, like, I give you the silent treatment way more than you give me the silent treatment.
And you know what? Earlier on in our relationship, it really used to get me. Now I'm like, okay, save your words. I'm good.
Yeah, but honestly, it's not like silent treatment meant to like hurt your feelings or upset you.
Just needs a break from me sometimes.
It's that I think one of the things that I learned about myself is that when I get into my head, I can get worked up into a place of anger and frustration that is not commiserate with what's actually happening. So the silent treatment is just like
incongruous.
I'm working through whatever I'm working through. It's like, I know that talking to her right now is not going to be good. Whatever is bothering me, I know right now it feels like it's huge, but maybe in a day, maybe in a few days, it will feel
But I
less
swear
huge.
we had one situation like within this past year where obviously we're speaking to each other, we're communicating, but I could tell there was still this elephant in the room that we weren't talking about. I swear that crap. And we would talk like, how was our day? Da-da-da. Oh, did you know this? Did you know that? But I'm like, there was like silence around this issue for like 2 weeks. And I feel like because he is someone who just gets in his head, and I'm very different. I'll be like, let's talk about this. Here's what I want to say. There are very few things that I don't immediately want to address, even though I know that's not how he prefers. Because I know that's not how he prefers to do things, sometimes I don't. But if it were up to me or just like me in a relationship with myself, I'd be like, okay, let's do this. Let's chat now and move on, kiss, hug, da-da-da-da. It was like 2 weeks of it. And honestly, like it just made him stew in his head more. So to answer the question, how long should it last? A day. Move on. Like after that, you need to talk about it, at least say a little bit about it, like, and try to get back. Okay, I'll give him 2 days.
We can agree to disagree.
It was the time that it went on for like 2 weeks.
Oh.
No, because it gets worse sometimes when you because you're thinking about it yourself. When you're bothering to like give someone the silent treatment about something, or when you aren't comfortable communicating about something, it's because it's really important to you. And when something's important to you and you're not letting it out and talking to someone else, whether it's your partner, hopefully, or like confidants, then it's just going over and over in your head and you're having conversations with yourself, like, and it's taking your sleep from you. And it's like, I think sometimes he used to think that I didn't notice that he was like, even to this, sometimes he'll be like, oh no, like, you think that? And I'm like, yes, I know you. Like, I've known you for almost 20 years. Like I know what you're thinking. I don't know exactly what you're thinking, but I know there's some issue right now. And I think it's healthier for us just to address it. So it shouldn't last that long.
Agree to disagree. All right. We got one last special guest.
I have another question.
Oh, you do? But it's probably boring. We've gone for a long time.
Well, it's one we've answered before. It's most couples have a nonverbal shorthand. Do we have things? What's the main one?
Oh yeah, it's time to go.
So he should do this right now. Like, all right, wrap your crap up. Let's go.
Do the
so you said we have a special guest.
We have a special guest appearance. No, it's not Serafina.
She joins us. Okay.
It's Mina Kimes.
Hey, Ashley and Dominique, but mostly Ashley. First time, long time fan of the show. My question probably won't surprise you guys given what's going on in my life right now, but it is this. If you could go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice about parenting before you had your first kid, what would it be? One piece of advice.
First of all, I'll say it could be a surprise because that woman does not look the least bit pregnant. She's 9 months pregnant. I am so jealous. I look more pregnant right now than
she may not be pregnant anymore. I think she probably
any second.
Yeah, she was at the hospital yesterday.
So probably by the time this goes off, she will
be
baby.
Mama Mina.
Oh, that's a cute name. So 2 things come to mind for me, and so I'm going to combine them. It's something I wasn't good at, and I think like I really wasn't good at it. Mina, obviously, like I feel like knowing Mina, she'll be back doing her podcast next week. Maybe not literally,
like a month
but
off.
like she's not, she'll be back. Like football, she'll be back. So maybe she like has to accept more help than I had to accept when I was like first having kids. Like I was in law school, but like school was like part-time. Like, I mean, it was full-time, but it's not like a full-time job load. And I wasn't great at accepting help. And had I accepted more help, it would have given me more time to have time alone with my husband. And that's something I still go up and down with, like how much help I'm willing to accept. So accept all the help that is offered. If anything, like you're putting people who love your baby in their lives, whether it's nannies that you've like vetted or whatever, like who come to love your baby, or you're accepting help from family members who come to help you out, like letting them be close to their grandparents because their grandparents or their, grandmothers watch them, whoever, like when they can. Accept help, and in doing so, get time with your spouse.
I would say I probably got a couple too, but the first thing that I would say is don't stress too much about anything. Like you try to, your kids probably already have a leg up. Like you're a smart, caring, thoughtful person who is well situated financially. Like don't stress about all the little decisions that you have to make. And the second one is probably later in life when they get older. I think it's important to fail in front of your kids. It's something that I've come to realize in the last couple years is I always would shield them from any like challenges that I was going through or hard times that I was having. And because you like, maybe it's a dad thing, but you like to be like, I'm the dad. I can open all the jars, solve all the problems, everything. And I don't have issues at work. Work is easy. I go to work, it's fine. I come home and I'm full of energy and I'm happy. I think by doing that, you create a couple things. Like you create unrealistic expectations and you create a burden on yourself that's like exhausting. And then you also create an expectation of them that it's not okay to struggle. And so like I've found that it's been helpful for me to let them know, like I messed up at work today. I forgot something. I was late here.
And in that apologizing them when you mess up with them.
I need to be better organized. Like I find myself pointing that out to our kids, like they're a little bit messy and I want them to get things clean, but I also am like, hey, my closet is a mess too, but this is things that we got to work through. You guys have lots of great things. I have lots of great attributes, but there are things we need to work on. And I think I failed a little bit in that early. When they're young, it's easy to solve all the problems. So their problems are small. It's like they're hungry, their toy broke. Like you can buy them a new toy. But as they get older, I think it's important for them to know that you aren't perfect and it's okay for them not to be perfect and to do your best is enough.
And after they ask you to redecorate their beautiful rooms, watch House Hunters with them so they can see, like last night after the kids were wanting to change their rooms, they saw other rooms and then became grateful, and fixer-uppers and on House Hunters, and then they became grateful for their rooms. Pro tip.
Also, it's very difficult to be the one poor person in a house full of rich people who want so much stuff all the time. Anyway, hopefully this show does well so we can afford to fix everybody's everything all the time.
That's why I'm wearing a shirt from 4 years ago.
That I'm sure it costs. I'm not even going to say how much I'm sure it costs because it'll make me sad.
It was on clearance at Nordstrom. Nordstrom saves I can pull it up, y'all.
Anyway, thank you so much for being a guest. Thank you to Wasney Lambrey for being a guest. My man Charlie for always holding it down. Serafina, great job. Kevin, Brian, Megan, and everyone here at Podville. We out.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.